What's up, guys? Coming to you from Bathtub Brew House. Just wanted to update you on a couple things. First, let's go right to craft beer and home brewing. Making my German chocolate cake porter next weekend, and looking forward to that. Having Paulo Shields, good friend of mine at the beer guy at Two Birds Tap House. He's going to be over with some of his friends, and we're going to social distance and drink some beers I have left over from little thing we did Labor Day weekend. Excited about that. So I've been fermenting in my corny kegs for a while now. But, you know, I've been a little disappointed in the turnout and decided that I needed to step it up again with my brewing. And before that, I was using Williams Worn Brew kegs, which were phenomenal. You could ferment, carb, and serve out of them. But my issue with them was, and you could ferment under pressure in them, which was amazing. But I was having a lot of issues with them in terms of serving. All of a sudden, they just would stop pouring the beer. Even though I had plenty of CO2 going to the brew keg, it just wouldn't come out of the dip tube, and it was driving me nuts. So, all of a sudden it just wouldn't pour. I'd have to hook up CO2 and push it down the beer tube, thinking it was a clog or something, but it shouldn't be clogging because those brew kegs are they're built like a fermenter, and they have a collection container at the bottom that when you're fermenting, all the trub and the yeast particles and all the particulates fall down into that collection container, and you can toss them. And so I would do that, and I would cold crash after that, and that would even let everything that's usually in your beer will fall down into the collection ball, and I would dump that. So it wasn't anything that should be clogging up the beer dip tube. So I was getting a little annoyed, and finally gave them away, honestly, to a good friend of mine, Chad Gilbert, who is just wants to get started into actually home brewing himself. So I was, I sold him one for cheap, and I think I gave him one, I can't remember. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is I didn't have a fermenter anymore, and so I was fermenting in my corny kegs and then pushing out the trub and the yeast that falls to the bottom just with CO2 pressure out of the corny keg, which works fine, and then you can serve right out of it. But just not being able to truly see the process, it's a little unnerving because you don't know if you got all the trub out. You don't know if you got everything out of the keg. And even though I cold crashed and pushed more stuff out of a corny keg, you can't really see what's going on. So I decided to purchase a Vermzilla, which is made by Kegland in Australia or New Zealand. I can't remember which. They make amazing products, and once they make them, it takes a while for them to get them to websites that sell beer stuff in the US, but morebeer.com has them. It's called Vermzilla, Vermzilla. Pretty impressive conical fermenters for pretty cheap. And you can do everything I was talking about earlier with them in terms of fermenting under pressure, carbing it up, and serving right out of the Vermzilla. And I love that aspect because there's no moving the beer from start to finish. So you don't have any chance of contamination or oxygen hitting the beer, and oxygen will kill beer quick, and you don't want that ever after it starts fermenting. So I've got one coming. I think it comes by next Thursday. It's already being shipped, and looking forward to using the version 2 model. I used to have a Vermzilla which I sold to a good friend of mine, and he loves it. The new Vermzilla 2.0, I guess you'd say, it's been out for a while, but it has a great collection ball, a lot bigger collection ball at the bottom, a lot bigger butterfly valve, a lot bigger opening on the top so you can get in there and clean it better. I'll do a whole video about that if you guys are interested. Let me know. But looking forward to using it. Looking forward to some new features they have. The collection ball itself, it's not actually a ball, it's more like a cylinder, has 2 openings that you can screw on a carbonation cap, and you can dry hop from the bottom, and you can add in secondary ingredients to the bottom, and you can have the butterfly valve shut off, and when you put your hops in there for dry hopping or any kind of secondary ingredients, before you open the butterfly valve, you can hook up CO2 to the collection container, collection ball, collection cylinder, and you can purge all the oxygen out of the collection container, which is amazing because you don't want to add oxygen to the beer that's already been fermenting and carved, and you don't want your beer to get ruined. So very cool feature. Looking forward to using that a lot. And yeah, can't wait to get it, can't wait to use it, can't wait to tell you about it, and I will do that once I get it, and I'll show you when it's fermenting and how the whole process works. And it's $129 for the 7-gallon, which is, it's made for a 5 to 6 gallon batch. So I make a 5-gallon batch on my Pico Z's back here. I make 2.5 gallon batches, and if I make the same beer, it's 5 gallons, and that gives it plenty of headspace for fermentation. And if you don't know much about that, when you ferment beer, it produces CO2, and it will cause foaming, and it will cause the beer to be active. And if you don't have enough headspace in your fermenter or your corny keg, wherever you're fermenting in, your conical fermenter, it can blow all the beer right out of the top of your airlock. It can blow the beer out of your CO2 pressure relief valve. A lot of issues can happen if you don't have headspace. So it's perfect for a 5-gallon to 6-gallon batch. It's a little more than 7 gallons, I think, in total volume. And they also have a bigger one. I think it's a 13-gallon one, and not a 7-gallon one. It's only $30 more. So if you brew 10-gallon batches, you can get the 13 or 14, I think it's 13, 14, or 15, I can't remember, but enough headspace to do a 10-gallon batch if you have a system that brews 10 gallons at a time. So looking forward to that. Another breakthrough that I was so happy to find out about is, I told you about my blonde ale going bad 2 videos ago. Wasn't my fault per se. It was my fault in the sense I used old yeast, but it wasn't my fault in the sense that I didn't clean properly. Like I said, I'm a stickler for cleaning and sanitizing all my stuff. And so it was good to find out that it wasn't anything I did on that part that ruined the beer. It was the fact that when I ordered the blonde ale, the ingredients for it, they were out of the yeast I usually use. And I usually use 2 packs of dry yeast for that beer. They were out of it, and then I forgot that they were out of it, and I got my ingredients, and I was starting brewing, and I realized I didn't have the yeast. Well, I looked in my fridge, I had a pack of that yeast, 1. Didn't realize, number 1, how old it was, and number 2, that I only had 1 pack. So basically, and then talking to my friend Jim, who I told you about, he makes incredible beer, I was asking him about it, and he actually did a taste test for me. I brought a bottle over to him, and he broke down what he thought it was, and then I threw out the fact about the yeast, and he said that's probably was the issue, because if you have yeast cells, you know, basically how yeast works is there's a cell count, and you want the freshest yeast you possibly can buy with the longest expiration date down the road, because it's the freshest yeast, and the cell count of the yeast is going to be a lot more viable, basically a lot more available for the to eat the sugar in your wort, which is your beer, before it becomes alcohol. So high count of cells, that's what you want. A lot of cells. There's billions of cells in yeast packs or in yeast liquid if you buy in liquid form. What happened was, this was an old pack that I found out the expiration date was way beyond past, and because of that, and the longer it sits in your fridge, the longer you have it, the more cells die. So it was probably not anywhere close to how many cells it should have had, and it wasn't any close to the fact that I usually use 2 packs, double than I use that time. And what happens if you don't have enough yeast cells when you ferment beer, it gets highly stressed, and that yeast gets highly stressed, and it can produce all kinds of issues regarding flavor in your beer. And so I am almost 100% certain that is the reason it turned out not so tasty. I mean, you could drink it. It wasn't horrendous, but it wasn't what it should have been, up to my standards anyway, to serve it and give it to people and to drink it and enjoy it. So I was glad to at least figure that out, and thanks to Jim for helping me out with that, and was just glad that it wasn't my cleaning and sanitizing. Most likely it wasn't my cleaning and sanitizing. So just wanted to throw that out there. Running. So I ordered, and I don't know if I'm saying this right. I think I'm saying this right for these shoes. I ordered a pair of, I'm looking at it right now just to make sure I pronounce this right. Saucony. Yeah, Saucony is the company. They make running shoes, and I ordered a pair of Sauconys for the first time. Never had Sauconys. These were, I used my Amazon Prime wardrobe so I could test them out for 7 days, and if I don't like them, I could send them back. So I used them for the first time today running, and these were trail running, specifically made for trail running, and they were phenomenal. I ran for the first time in them at lunch today and absolutely loved them. They were unbelievable. And these shoes, to me, and so I'm comparing them to the Brooks I bought, which were a very expensive trail running shoe. They were fine. They got me through that ultra, but they were heavy. They're on the heavier side for a shoe to be running in for that long. And I think with the Brooks, there was so much cushioning. That was probably one of the reasons that I sprained my ankle as bad as I did, because the problem with big, huge shoes with huge cushion is you don't feel the ground when you're running. And so you can step on a root or a rock or anything on the ground and you don't really feel it because there's so much cushion, but by the time you stepped on it and it twists your ankle because it's uneven on the ground, you're going all the way down, you're falling, that kind of thing. And that's what happened with my ankle. Well, today I ran in these Sauconys and they were so light. They felt like road running shoes, not trail running shoes. Super, super light. They felt really nice and snug because of this amazing system they have on these trail running shoes that I've never seen anyone else do. And I'll buy these shoes for life if they continue to make this one detail on their shoes. They have a dial, the small little round dial that tightens the shoelace. And that shoelace is like a string. It's like paper thin. And you put your foot in there and you get it exactly the way you want it, pull up the tongue a little bit, and then you push the dial down and you just rotate it until it's the perfect fit. And there's so many clicks that you can dial in the perfect fit for the shoe without having to tie your shoe. And then it's so easy to release. You just pull out the dial and it releases the tension and you can slip your foot right out of the shoe. Love it, love it. It was, to me, I don't understand why other people have not thought of this or created something like this in a running shoe or a trail running shoe or any shoe for that matter. I'm a big hater of tying shoes, and for a long time I would buy shoes that were slip-ons because I didn't want to tie my shoes. And I know that sounds lazy, but maybe it is. But I just hate the fact of tying, get in, put your shoe in, and put your foot in there and pull up all the strings and then tie it, and then I have to double tie it because it always comes untied. I'm just a very simple and minimalist kind of person, and so that whole step I hate. This solves that, and you still get that great fit from having a shoelace. So I will show you that shoe once I stop this and cut the video and add it when I turn the camera around. And I'm gonna brag about that shoe and just running in it. So I love the feel of it because the cushioning is just enough where your feet don't hurt when you're running in it, but you feel the ground when you're running in these shoes. You feel the rocks or the unevenness or the roots. And it saved my butt today because my ankle's not 100% from when I hurt it. It's probably like at 85, 90%. Well, I unknowingly stepped on a little rock or a root and my ankle started going and I felt it and I immediately caught myself before really hurting myself again. And that could have taken me out for another 2 weeks if I would have been running in the brooks, I think. With these, the Sauconys, it was just an instant recovery from what could have been a really bad ankle sprain again. And I do give Saucony the credit for that with these shoes because it's not, the cushioning's not over the top. It's just right. It's just the right amount to get the ground feel, but also feel comfortable when you're running. And then the traction on the bottom is superb for trail running. I'll show you that as well later. So hands down, just to me, a overall better trail running shoe than the Brooks, which is the Brooks Cascadia, and I even got the waterproof ones with the Gore-Tex. Great shoe. I'm not knocking Brooks. And at Brooks, if you got a shoe that's closer to what I'm talking about and you want to send me it and I'll try it out and give you my unbiased opinion, I'm all for that. Not knocking you. It's just I love these Sauconys and I love the dial system with the lace, and they felt just light and easy, and I actually did run faster on my 5-miler today than I ever have in these shoes. Don't know if the weight contributed to that or just because I had new shoes and I was all giddy and I just ran faster because of that, or I was just so happy about the dial shoelaces that I just had a happier run. I don't know, but Saucony, if you want to sponsor somebody who's a nobody in the running industry, I will gladly talk up your shoes nonstop because I'm not getting paid to say anything about these shoes I just bought, and I love them, and I would never ever send them back to Amazon Prime Wardrobe. I'm keeping these puppies, and I hope you continue to make shoes like this. And I'll have the actual more information when I cut to the shoes about what model it is, how much they cost, give you a breakdown by showing you the shoe and that kind of thing. So very happy about my Sauconys. Running now, I've ran, I took almost a week off from my Ultra, and then the one day before a week off, I ran a 3-miler just to see how it felt, and that was great. Excuse me. And then I've ran 15 miles, so I ran 3 5-milers this week. Basically, Monday through Friday, I'm going to try to go out and run every day, and I'm going to try to, that's not true, I'm sorry. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sundays I want to run. And Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays I'll run 5-milers on my lunch break, and then Sundays is going to be my long run. So I'll try to do maybe this Sunday an 8-miler, and just keep bumping it up until my Ultra. Hopefully I'm running an Ultra in November. I'm still waiting to see if I'm going to do that or not, but I'm training for it like I'm doing it on Ultra in November. So looking forward to that. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to all my nonstop gibberish, and hopefully you'll enjoy what I show you about the Sauconys if you're a runner. And I'll show you the Brooks too that I ran in that are filthy. I haven't washed them since I ran my Ultra. So you're gonna see a lot of dirt on my Brooks, and you're gonna see dirt on my Sauconys because it's been raining the last couple of days here, and so the trails are still a little muddy. And just for the first time I'm running my Sauconys, amazing. And again, Saucony, thanks for making an amazing trail running shoe that's lightweight, that you can feel the ground with, and the dialing shoelace system, and there's a name for it. I'm gonna look that up. Unbelievable. Best thing you could have put on a shoe. And I don't know if Saucony makes other shoes that have this dialing system. I hope they do, because I'll buy ones just to wear around town, not running in. Just absolutely impressed with the invention of that, and I hope they continue to make that. And again, if you want to sponsor me, Saucony, I've already ran one Ultra just 2 weeks ago. That was my first Ultra. So if you want to sponsor me from the beginning and see my progress as an older man in his late 40s, I'm going to continue to run Ultras, and I'm going to try to jump up to a 50-miler, and then I'm going to try to jump up to a 100-miler one day. And I would love your support, Saucony. If you want to sponsor me, I'll be glad to do it. That's about it. You'll see when I cut, you'll see my whole little spill about the Sauconys, and showing you the shoe, and then showing you the Brooks, and the comparison between the two. Later. Here you have it, guys. On the left, the Brooks Cascadia GTXs, the ones I ran my Ultra in. You can definitely see I ran an Ultra in them. On the right, the Saucony Switchback ISOs. Just worn the right ones I was telling you about for the first time yesterday running, and I have not worn these, the Brooks on the left, since the Ultra, which has been 2 weeks. I was running in my old Nike running shoes that are not even made for trails until I got these Sauconys, because the Brooks just had issues, honestly. And that's what I was going to tell you a little bit about them. One is they're heavy, just a little too heavy. Didn't like that. Already coming apart on the front there, on both. Before I even ran the Ultra, this happened on my training miles on both these shoes, on both the left and right shoe, which is not cool. Again, these were great shoes. They got me through the Ultra, and throw a lot of training miles. But the problem is the cushioning was just way too much. I could not feel the ground at all, and I have a huge feeling that's why I sprained my ankle as badly as I did, was because you don't feel the ground. And so if you're stepping on uneven ground and you don't feel it, it's too late, and then your ankle goes completely over because you just don't have a sense of the ground and feeling for any correction quickly if you're about to go down, which I did go down pretty hard. So those are my gripes about these. These were about $160 retail. I got them for $120 on sale. And actually they have a newer version of these now, which still look like all the same specs. They just look a little different design wise. And laces, of course, which is normal for any kind of running shoe, trail or running shoe, but that's what I love about the Sauconys. These suckers, first of all, lot lighter. As you can see, the cushion is a lot less than the Brooks, and a lot more even, I would say. On the Brooks, there's a lot of cushioning on the back half of the shoe. It sort of seems to taper off toward the front, whereas this looks like it's a little less cushioning and it's more even from the front to the back. And I'm telling you, you could feel the ground in these so well. And they're just a lot lighter. And then you have this amazing BOA lacing system. BOA is actually a company that makes this lacing system, which I just read about, I didn't even know, for snowboarding. There's a lot of snowboarding shoes that use this dial, which I didn't know, and also cycling sports. There's a lot of cycling shoes that use this company BOA for their lacing system. It is so innovative, and you can see, look at the shoelaces. Look how thin those laces are. So what happens here, I can try to show it to you. Right now it's popped out, so when you pop the dial out, it releases the tension, and you can just slip your foot right out. When you lock it in, you just dial it up, and the tension, you get your foot in there, and you got that nice tongue that goes all the way from the top to the bottom, so it doesn't shift. And when you tighten it up with your foot in there, you can tighten it as tight as you want. It just locks your foot in the shoe very comfortably, and it just fits your foot perfectly. I can't even explain how awesome that is. And then when you want to release it, you just pop it open. It's brilliant. I think I wish a lot more just shoes in general, tennis shoes that you wear around normally have that. They might have it too. I'm gonna have to search that now. So these were the Sauconys. What did I show on the bottom of these shoes? Pretty good traction on the bottom of these shoes. I never had issues with slipping when wet, although I did sprain my ankle. So with these puppies, it's a lot more lugs, a lot more traction, and then where the green area is a stronger part of the bottom of the shoe, so rocks can't penetrate your foot. Great traction, even better than the Brooks when I went riding with these on the trails. So just absolutely loved these shoes. Saucony killed it with these switchback ISOs with the BOA lacing system. I highly recommend these shoes if you want to trail run, compared to the Brooks. Even though the Brooks, they felt comfortable, and if you like a lot of cushioning and you don't want to feel the ground, and they're a little heavier, pretty good shoes. But for me, it was night and day in terms of what I like. And the Sauconys are lightweight. The lacing system's unbelievable. And I felt the ground when I ran. And it actually saved my ankle on Friday. I can't remember if I already said this before or not, but on Friday when I was running, I hit another little spot where my ankle started to feel like it was gonna buckle in, and because I felt the ground and whatever I stepped on, I immediately corrected myself and didn't sprain my ankle. So that's my lowdown on these shoes and what I thought about them. And again, Saucony, if you want to sponsor a first-time ultra runner who's just starting on his journey of running, I'm more than willing to be your candidate. And Brooks, I'm sorry to knock your shoes, but if you have anything that can compare to the Sauconys and you want to send them to me, again, I'll do an unbiased review of those pair of shoes you send me. But right now, the overall winner for sure to me is the Sauconys, these switchback ISOs with that BOA lacing system. Just absolutely love those shoes.